Want to get your ex back? Don't make these 11 most common mistakes. Mistake number 1, complaining to your ex. Even if your ex didn't act with much class before or after the breakup, there's absolutely no point in bringing up everything they did wrong. Any kind of complaining won't help you at all. It won't add anything positive, but instead, it'll effectively push that person away and only confirm their belief that breaking up was the right decision. Mistake number 2, asking for another chance. On one hand, asking to get back together is a completely normal, natural reaction that comes to mind after a breakup, especially if we still love the person who broke up with us. And yet, as you've probably already seen for yourself, it not only doesn't work, but on the contrary, it's very off-putting, shows your desperation, and you're just annoying your ex with that behavior. Because of that asking for another chance, or even constantly bringing up your relationship, your ex will have an attitude like, I need to cut myself off now to let my ex, meaning you, forget and cool down from all these emotions. So if you want to get that person back, it's definitely much better, instead of convincing them to return, to start convincing them that your emotions have settled, that you've moved on after the breakup, and you don't want anything else now. That now, it's you who doesn't want to go back. And that'll be the first step toward becoming a challenge. Mistake number 3, showing how much you're suffering right now. The worst thing you can do is actually threatening suicide. I know that with such strong emotions after a breakup, the craziest ideas can come to mind. However, trust me, you don't want to get your ex back through pity. It just doesn't work that way at all. If you really care about the breakup, you must do the opposite. Show that you're a strong, independent individual. You've already moved on after the breakup, and now you don't want anything from your ex. It's exactly this attitude that will be much more attractive. So under no circumstances should you post any sad photos or sad songs on social media, nor should you complain to your mutual friends about how bad you're feeling right now, even if it's the truth. I know it sounds brutal. In a fairy tale ideal world, it absolutely shouldn't look like this. We shouldn't have to pretend anything. We should just show how much we care, how sorry we are, and then the ex should come back to us. But as you can see, such fairy tale assumptions unfortunately don't work. Mistake number 4, forcing contact. Even if you don't directly ask to get back together or show how sad and bad you feel, if you're the one much more often and regularly initiating contact or even suggesting meetings, especially if the other side doesn't react very optimistically or eagerly to those attempts, then you're also making a big mistake. With this behavior, you're also showing that you actually still care, you still miss them, and you're always within reach. And as long as your ex sees and feels that you're not a challenge, their feelings won't have a chance to be reborn, and nothing will be able to happen between you. Only when your ex feels that you don't want anything anymore, that you've moved on and you're a strong, independent individual, only when they feel they might lose you forever, only then can their feelings slowly begin to return. And here again, I know it sounds terrible, but that's exactly how human nature works. I didn't make this up. I've simply observed it while conducting these thousands of consultations over the last dozen or so years. Mistake number 5, convincing your ex that you've changed. Even if during the breakup your ex clearly told you why they were leaving and you later changed those things, it still doesn't mean that changing them will automatically make you get back together. This is because the decision to break up isn't logical, it's emotional. Of course, you definitely absolutely need to draw conclusions and fix what wasn't working in your relationship. Work on yourself, gain new relationship skills, and show this change to your ex. But indirectly, because talking directly about how much you've changed sounds almost the same as trying to convince them to get back together. And that, as you know, doesn't work. It makes you not a challenge and only pushes that person away from you. And on top of all that, you'll be much more attractive and much more credible in your change if your ex sees that you've changed, but also sees that you don't want anything from them and aren't pushing to get back together at all. Mistake number 6, asking friends to influence your ex. If you have mutual friends who wish you well, it might seem tempting to ask them to somehow help you get that person back. However, neither you nor anyone else can convince an ex to come back because it's not a logical decision but an emotional one. Your ex has to feel that desire to return on their own, and that unfortunately requires a long-term strategy of influencing their emotions. Mistake number 7, unskillfully trying to make them jealous. While skillfully inducing jealousy is indeed one of the most powerful things that can bring results in a short time and actually revive your ex's feelings for you, it's very difficult to do it well, and it's better not to try it at all and not to get into it until you learn how it really works. The worst mistake is this chaotic behavior where first you show how much you care and then you artificially show that someone is pursuing you when in reality there's no one there and your ex sees that it's a sham. Such behavior very strongly shows your desperation and will very strongly push you away from your ex. Mistake number 8, sending a farewell letter. A common idea that people come up with after a breakup and who have already picked up some knowledge on how to become a challenge is the idea of sending their ex a farewell letter showing that they no longer care. And while sending such a short message showing that your emotions have subsided is a very good strategy, which I recommend myself many times to my clients. Sending a long letter, especially by mail on paper, simply can't end well. Mainly because the very act of sending a paper letter, printing it, writing it, shows that you had to put energy into it. And that shows that you actually still care, and it contradicts the content that's in the letter. If you really didn't care, you wouldn't want to do anything like that and put so much energy into it. Mistake number 9, abruptly cutting off contact. A common behavior when you really want to get your ex back but nothing's working is this sudden abrupt cutoff. Meaning you remove that person from all social media and maybe even block their phone number. And that's a pretty good strategy, but only if you really want to forget and never go back to that person again. But it's a very bad strategy if you're looking to get back together. Why? Because such a sudden move actually shows your ex that you're trying to cut ties and forget. But not because you stopped caring, but because you care so much that you just can't take it anymore. So that's where another desperate move like this comes from. In many situations, cutting off contact is actually a really good idea, especially when you don't have the chance to run into each other anywhere and your ex isn't interested in contacting you. However, even then, it's better to show a lack of interest at the end, like not replying to the last message, even if you were the one who started the conversation. But even in that case, it's much better to be more subtle. Show that your emotions have cooled down, don't block your ex anywhere, and don't remove them from your friends or social media. And finally, it's good to show a lack of interest somehow, so that this time without contact will have a much stronger impact on your ex's emotions. Mistake number 10, reacting too enthusiastically to the first signs of interest. When you finally stop making mistakes and start doing things that work, meaning you become a challenge for your ex, you'll have a great chance that they'll slowly start thinking about you more and more. And at some point, there's a good chance they'll take the initiative to reach out or even suggest a meeting. And that will obviously be a very good sign, but it doesn't mean yet that they want to get back together right away. After a while, your ex will just be curious about what's going on with you, and maybe even subconsciously wonder if they can still come back, or if that door's closed. And this is exactly the key moment that you can't mess up. A huge mistake in this situation is showing that you were actually just waiting for them to reach out and that you're still always available. So if you immediately agree to a meeting with huge enthusiasm or keep the conversation going forever, you'll unfortunately stop being a challenge and lose a lot of your attractiveness. Of course, you shouldn't completely ignore their first reach out, but you should play it so that they're the one trying to get you to talk and keeping the connection going. And so that now they can be the one to start putting in the effort. Mistake number 11, getting back together too quickly. People who effectively implement our strategy are at risk of one more huge mistake right before success, which often stops them from getting their ex back at the finish line. And that mistake is pushing too hard to get back together, or even agreeing to it too quickly, even if your ex is the one who directly suggests it. Usually it looks like this. Our whole strategy works and your ex starts putting in the effort themselves. You meet for the first time, then a second, then a third, and finally some intimacy occurs. You might already be thinking that everything's on the right track and that you're basically getting back together. And yet, you'll wake up the next day and feel that your ex is totally withdrawn. Unfortunately, I've heard such stories many times during my consultations, so it's something you really need to watch out for. This happens because your ex realized that, after all, they can get you back relatively easily. And this mistake affects both women and men, so it's not just related to sex. And that's exactly why getting an ex back must be a process and not just an event. If you let them back too soon or push for a relationship too fast yourself, you might push them away quickly and end up back at square one. We've already discussed the 11 biggest mistakes, so you already know what not to do. However, if you want to learn what to start doing so that your ex starts trying for you on their own, then I invite you to watch my free course. You'll find the link somewhere next to this video or on the website institutezvyazkov.pl. Talk to you soon. Robert Marchell